I'm back with more information about how to edit your Korg DW-8000. Before I launch into the specifics of the inside of the synthesizer, I first just want to talk to you about the kind of interface that you might want to use to edit it. As I mentioned in the last video, editing it from the front panel is a little bit cumbersome, so I found it's a lot easier to use a computer interface to do so. There's lots of different options out there, but I'm going to show you the one I use that I found has been the easiest for me. And if you follow along and use the same method, it'll make the rest of the videos a lot easier to follow. And yeah, so here we go. First off, just to kind of talk about what you need, if you're going to connect your synthesizer to your computer, you really need just two things. Number one, you need an actual cable to communicate. So here's an example of what you need. Basically, because this synthesizer came out, as I mentioned, 30 years ago, it came out before USB, so there's no way to connect a USB cable directly to the synth, directly to your computer. So what you need is a converter, like this one here. This is one I just kind of a no-name one on Amazon. This is, I think, the one that I have. It looks pretty similar, pretty just kind of made in China, mass-produced kind of thing, but it really doesn't need to be anything fancy. All that's really going on is you've got MIDI inputs and outputs connected to the ins and outs of your synth, and you've got your USB connected to your computer, and the device here essentially converts MIDI messages to USB data so your computer can understand what's going on. So that's step one. Get some sort of device like this one here. I mean, it's $6, really no big deal, free shipping on Amazon. Thanks, Amazon. But yeah, really no big deal. Once you've got that in hand, you need next a piece of software to control it. Again, lots of different options, but the one I use is this platform called Ctrlr. I believe is how you pronounce it. Ctrlr.org is the website you want to go to. And what this is essentially a software platform to control MIDI devices. What I think is really cool and interesting about this is it's one programming platform, and it's open source and allows users to go in and create panels, which are essentially graphic overlays and sort of presets that people have created to control various synthesizers, samplers, drum machines, any sort of MIDI device that can exist. And as you can see, as you just kind of go down the list of panels, people have created them, users have created them for all sorts of different vintage synthesizers and drum machines and all sorts of things. But the one that I'm going to point your attention to is to this one here, the Korg DW-8000 panel that was made back in 2013 by Llamatron. So all props to Llamatron for creating this. It looks really great. I've used it for about a year, and I've never really had any issues with it. Functions fantastic. So essentially what you do is you download the controller software, then you download the panel document. You use those two things in conjunction. You can follow the steps online, but I did want to let you know that you have options. So if you don't have a digital audio workstation, then that's okay. You can still run Ctrlr as a standalone piece of software. If you do, it just comes up and it loads up the MIDI connections, and you can program it straight from your computer here. Now, of course, you want to have your headphones plugged into the synth so you can hear what's going on, but you can still use your computer to change the parameters and that sort of thing. But for me, because I have a DAW, I'm using Ableton Live, I like to use it direct inside of my workstation here. So essentially what I do is I pull up the Ctrlr VST, put it onto a MIDI track. When it first comes up, it just is a blank sort of platform here. You have to actually load the panel file that I referenced earlier. So just for ease of use, I put it on the desktop. It's Korg DW-8000 user.panel. It's a special panel file that Ctrlr uses. You open it. Here we go. This is the platform to control your synthesizer. Just to be something to be aware of, just like any MIDI device, the program has to understand how it's being connected. So you have to make sure that the device is having its input go through this USB MIDI cable, its output go through this USB MIDI cable. I'm controlling it with my Arturia Mini Brute keyboard. It's right by my hand. But I've also, it seems to be able to easily take software sort of data from the host digital audio workstation. So any sort of MIDI information that's coming from Ableton passes through to the Korg DW-8000. Depending on the platform that you're using and maybe the operating system that you're using, because I'm using Windows 7, if you're on a Mac or on a different version of Windows, you might have to play around a little bit with the settings here to make sure it works, but it's been pretty easy for me, and there's a lot of resources online, so it shouldn't be a problem for you. So once you've got the platform kind of loaded up, just to give you an idea of what I'm doing, inside of my Ableton set, I've got one MIDI track on which I have the controller VST. I've got an audio track that's listening for audio coming from the synth. And then just for the purposes of this video, I have a track that's monitoring my microphone. So once you pull up your panel, it should be all the knobs that you see here correspond to parameters inside the synth. But as you change presets, of course, all those knob positions will change. When you change presets, it should auto-snap to wherever you are, but if at any point it doesn't, you can click the load button. See that? Everything changes to the current parameters of the synthesizer. And then when I change presets, pretty cool, huh? Again, if you ever are changing parameters and you don't see things snap, click load and it basically refreshes and calls all the parameter settings and will apply them to all the knobs. But once you have this set up, you can go in and use any kind of parameter you want. So just as an example, cutoff. It changes it live and in real time. So this is the method that I'm going to show you how to edit the Korg DW-8000. And if you follow these steps, as I said, you'll be able to follow along, and we'll have a lot of fun. So in the next video, I'm going to start digging in and showing you how the oscillators work inside the synth, and we'll move on from there. So stay tuned, and thanks again for watching.